I want to remind everyone about the real White House crime family. Why did Saudi Arabia give Jared Kushner $2 billion, billion with a B, just months after he left the Trump White House? And why did the Saudis spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at Trump properties while he was still the president? We also know that Jared Kushner used his cushy White House job to secure a $100 billion arms deal for Saudi Arabia and did other favors as well. Now, some members of the majority actually agree that this was unethical. I rise yet again to urge my colleagues across the aisle to answer our calls and subpoena Jared Kushner's companies once and for all.
Representative Robert Garcia is 100% right there. There needs to be a subpoena. There needs to be an investigation. No one in America understands how this deal came to be or why Jared Kushner, a guy who appears to know nothing about investments, and ever since he got the billions of dollars, nobody knows what he's done with that money. How did he get that money?
Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait. Click join now on YouTube.
And you might wonder, why is this thing we're talking about right now? Well, because in Washington, the Republicans have been implying that they care a lot about family members of politicians getting nice, cushy positions and deals. And that story that Robert Garcia was just talking about actually came up in the closed door Hunter Biden testimony. Here is Representative Dan Goldman talking about that.
When Hunter Biden asked the Republican members of Congress, do you have any problem with that? There were a couple who said yes. It's not in the transcript, but they said yes, and others were nodding because he did a very good job of confronting them with the difference between what he did, which was dealing in international business with non-government officials, non-government entities, versus Jared Kushner, who received $2 billion from the Saudi Arabian government right after he was the point person on Middle East policy for the Trump administration.
Yeah, it is incredibly suspicious. And many of you might have questions, including, wait a second, Dan Goldman, you're saying Republicans admitted that they thought that was suspicious? That might be the hardest part of this to believe. Well, apparently they did. Representative Jared Moskowitz explained why Republicans might have felt comfortable finally admitting that that is some suspicious stuff, saying there's no cameras in there, so Donald Trump ain't watching, right? For the first time, Republicans said they do have a problem with that, but they should do something about it. And Jason, I understand that there's a lot that I'm admitting I don't understand, about this. I'm not a private equity guy. I just think that if they're going to imply that Hunter Biden getting a job potentially because he's related to Joe Biden is a problem, a guy walking out of the White House in Jared Kushner with no experience in these sorts of investments, being handed billions of dollars by a foreign ruler who might want to have some influence with the family if Trump becomes president again, it seems suspicious to me. We may not be experts on finances, but maybe we can agree on that.
Oh, we can exponentially agree. Also, it's not like he was given, $50,000. I mean, no, any amount of money, any dollar amount would be suspicious, depending on what the context is or what the dealings is for why they're exchanging those funds. But $2 billion, John, $2 billion. Damn, why are we handing Jared Kushner $2 billion? And great point, great question. What is he doing with $2 billion? I agree with you 100%. There needs to be the amount of time that we spend investigating and having hearings with all these things in politics is just, it's mind blowing. But they're absolutely, let's add Jared Kushner to the docket to be investigated in that list of investigations that we waste our time on in politics in America, because $2 billion is a lot of money. Is that going to be funneled? Maybe he might use that $2 billion to restart Ivanka's clothing business that fizzled in 2016. Maybe he might use that. I don't know, that $2 billion for something. And every time, this is a non sequitur, but I have to say this. Every time I hear the word Kushner, I think of that one episode of Project Runway where Carly Kloss is talking about some dress and she asks one of the guys, what did you think about, where would I wear this dress? And he says, well, not even to dinner with the Kushners. And so much shade was thrown. It was so viral. I digress. Yeah, 2 billion. I don't know if, guys, let me know if in the comments, let me know if you remember that episode because it was great.
I think I saw that episode actually.
So dope.
I'm pretty sure.
The dress was terrible that the guy designed, but nonetheless. But yeah, 2 billion is a lot of money. And again, there's so much hypocrisy here and there's so much of a double standard when it comes to this.
I love the needless shade to whoever the designer was. Now I want to find out who the designer was that did the dress. But yeah, you're 100% right. Look, there has not been nearly enough attention paid to this. Look, I'm hyperbolic. I know that's like what I am. But am I wrong to say that this might be, in a time when we're talking about, family members benefiting from their connections, that this might be the most egregious example of it in American history?
For sure.
And it's barely talked about. Like, we don't even talk about it enough, and we've covered it multiple times. Even James Comer said that it crossed the line of ethics. Now, he doesn't want to do anything about it. He's way too focused on the Bidens. But if even he can admit that this is wrong, then God, there's got to be some sort of investigation.
John, this is business. This is business as usual for any occurrence. Trump during Trump's presidency, post-Trump's presidency, and anyone adjacent to Trump, meaning like anyone who's worked with him, a friend of the family, anyone who's gotten away with, I don't want to say with murder because that's super egregious, but who's gotten away with like the most unlawful things and hasn't met their demise yet. Whereas anyone else would have been raked through the coals for this. But for some reason, because you're shrouded in like the magic of Trump, you can get away with the most unlawful things. And I stand by, and I keep saying this, but $2 billion is a lot of money.
It is.
Wow.
Too much money. Before we move on, I'll just say, I think actually I did not see that episode because the designer was Tyler Nyanslany, who I do not remember his face.
It was great. And Carly Kloss talked about it on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. And she was like, why is no one talking about how bad the dress was? And then the designer goes on and say, I wasn't trying to throw shade, Carly. Yes, you were so trying to throw shade. And America loved it. I wish you would have owned it.
Opportunity missed.